All right, here we go, folks. It is our debut for the new season. Fantasy Football Now and Fantasy Sport powered by DSP Media. I'm Jeff Thidoff. Follow me on the X. I am at Fit Happens. He is Chad Rink. Follow him on the X at Chad Ocho Rinko. We still there, Chad? Is that what it is? The at Chad Ocho Rinko rolling with?
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Yeah, show prep. Should have known that beforehand. Anyway,
Sure.
fantasysports.com, the Fantasy Sports app available for Apple and Android, round-the-clock programming on the go. It's free for that, so go check that out. The Fantasy Sports Facebook group, interact with hosts and other fans. Lots to talk about. And we're going to do this a lot this season. We are in the very early stages of prepping for our fantasy football drafts. If you look at the bottom there, you can see that fantasydraftproxies.com is a company we do some work for where if you need help with your team, drafting your team. You can't make it for some reason. You need somebody to do it for you. You want an expert to do it. Rick and I are part of that group. So is Jimmy the Temple of Doom. But we got a bunch of people that can do that, run the team for you if you need it. It's a excuse me. And so go check that out, fantasydraftproxies.com. All right. I don't know where to start here, Rink, but I guess we'll go with quarterback to start off here.
Okay.
And I made the analogy on our show sheet that as a kid, if you were the first person to fall asleep at a slumber party, you woke up with newspapers on your face or something like that. There was something done. You never want to be the first one to fall asleep at a slumber party. I feel the same way about drafting quarterbacks in fantasy football. I don't think, no matter how late it goes, I never want to take the first quarterback off the board. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And it's a great analogy because it's something I think we can all relate to growing up as a kid. You didn't want to fall asleep, but again, you don't want to take that first quarterback because of the draft capital. Because if you start looking at taking a quarterback in one of those first 3 rounds, you're just missing out on most likely a top running back, wide receiver in those first 3 rounds. And it's been one of those things where if you look at it, quarterbacks 10 through 15 compared to the top 5, you're not losing probably a lot of fantasy points per game. But then you start looking at the receivers and running backs that you get later on. There's a bigger gap there. So yeah, I totally agree. You do not want to be the first to take a quarterback in any draft,
unless you're in a super flex league or something like that.
Yeah.
Where the quarterbacks are 6-point passing touchdowns, you start more than one. That's a different beast.
Regular
PPR
exactly.
league with 4-point passing touchdowns. Just wait, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, super flex and 6-point touchdown. It's a whole different thing. Then your quarterbacks are going off the board, like first round, second round, third round.
Yeah.
And you got to get it early.
Yep. I agree with that. Now, speaking of that though, who's your number one quarterback this year? Right now, it could change based on injuries and things that happen. But right now, if you had your pick, you could have any quarterback on your team. Who would you take?
If I had to take, they said you have to take the quarterback first before anybody else. I would probably just go Mahomes just because he's so consistent. I do prefer rushing quarterbacks though.
Right.
So the guy, it's so weird. I don't there's so many that I like. I don't see there's going to be a huge discrepancy because Hurts is he scored 38 touchdowns the last
ridiculous number. Yes. But they got Saquon there.
Yeah. But Saquon's there now. Kelsey's gone. So I don't know if the tush push is going to be where it's at. Allen's receiving core is not great, but he's still running. Lamar, he's always gonna be there. So,
but he has Derrick Henry this year.
Yeah, exactly. They just run the ball like crazy. So I'm telling you, I think I would have to take Mahomes. I wouldn't want to just because of draft capital. I think he's looking at end of the third or something.
Oh yeah, way too early. Yes, I agree. Yeah. I agree with that.
So there's some guys I like that you can get later according to ADP. Now I know CJ Stroud's one that I think a lot of people are going to take probably. I think he's looking at top 5 right now, going off.
They're going to overdraft him. You're going to overdraft CJ Stroud, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean he's got talent because they're throwing Diggs in there, but I think this team is going to run the ball more. They got Mixon. And I think they realize, hey, we are gonna battle for a Super Bowl. Hopefully, is what their goal is after making the playoffs last year. Sure. So I think they're gonna, I think last year they just had to throw the ball more. I still like Stroud, but his ADP right now is the 412, and I just can't. I cannot.
I love you. Are both Buckeye guys. We love CJ Stroud. Yeah. I love the addition of Diggs. They've got a great receiving core there. You know what I mean? I like Mixon there. Their offense should be great. I just feel like he's so hot that you're gonna have to spend too much on to get him. And I don't know if that's wise or not, So I'm with you. If I could just put any quarterback on my team, I don't care where he gets drafted. Just to give me one quarterback, it's going to have to be Mahomes, I think, because of his consistency. Kelsey's still there, and Andy Reid in that system. It doesn't matter who's the wide. They can lose wide receivers. It doesn't matter. They can lose Tyreek. It doesn't matter who they lose. They're going to be fine. They're going to score a lot of points still. And I think, and he's healthy. He never misses games, knock on wood. But, I think that, and like you, the running quarterbacks, I mean, Hurts adds Barkley. Lamar adds Derrick Henry. I mean, those are guys they can count on down by the goal line that they wouldn't have been able to before. I mean, Philly had DeAndre Swift last year. Baltimore's had a collection of Dobbins, Gus Edwards, whatever, guys who couldn't stay healthy, guys off the street. And so it's a big difference this year for those two offenses as far as where the quarterback is. And I'm trying to think who would be the next quarterback? Because you can get value with Jared Goff probably, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown is still out there. You've got Sam Laporta. They've been lining up Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot a little bit, playing a receiver thing with Montgomery in there. That's not a bad option also.
No. So let's look at this. I was looking at some stuff, just some QB ADP. So top, just going off what, and it's still early because this is all going to change, but just look at the top 10 quarterbacks with their ADP. Who's the best value? So you got Josh Allen's going at the 212, Mahomes at the 312, Hurts at the 401. So they're Mahomes, Hurts right back to back. Lamar Jackson at the 408, Stroud at the 412. And then you've got Anthony Richardson's going at the 511, Burrow's going 606. Then you've got Prescott at the 701, Jordan Love the 707, and then Kyler Murray at 802. If you had who's the best value just of the top 10, who would you think's the best value?
I think at that point it might be Burrow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Joe Burrow and what they've got there. It might be him on that one just because of where you're getting him there that late, 6th round. And so I mean, you got a lot of quarterbacks going in front of him. We said the first one. Burrow might be the best value of all those you mentioned. Jordan Love, I know he signed a big contract, had a great end of last season, a great end of the second. Really, 3/4 of the season was great, and the playoffs also. A lot of things to love about Jordan Love, but Burrow, if he stays healthy, could be a hell of a value.
Yeah, I agree with you there with Burrow. Because Richardson, he could be great. He's still unknown, and then I think the other ones are just too high. Right. And then Prescott, I think would be my next guy at the 701, just because I don't like him, but fantasy wise, he's always good.
I know the Prescott thing. Dallas is so hard to predict for this year because you've got a lame duck coach, a quarterback who wants a new deal, and it was on his last year, and CeeDee Lamb who wants a new deal, and they've got no running game to speak of. They could be great. They're all playing for their jobs or whatever, coaching for their jobs. They could be great, but God, who knows on that team? They've got an injury on defense already. Those the defensive end for the season. Micah Parsons wants a new contract. There are so many things to be concerned about with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Yep. So then if you look at, if you're talking let's say you wait, let's say you I don't want any of these guys. I'm just loading up. Right. Because you're going to have to take all these guys within the first 7 rounds. Murray falls to the beginning to 8. So if you're listen, give me my 2 running backs, my 3 receivers, a tight end, and then let's say you get a 3rd running back. So you just got 3, 3, and 1. Right. So your first 7. So then you're waiting. And then everybody else is in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th round. So we could do a little bit of would you rather? So the next guy off the board, we'll see is Brock Purdy. He goes at the beginning of the 9th. So who would you rather have? Let's kind of go the next 5 that come off the board. Who would Brock Purdy or Jared Goff?
God, that's a tough one. I think I'd go with Goff. I'm probably too hard on Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Great weapons there, though. God, the weapons are fantastic.
Right.
Best weapons maybe in the league, right? When you talk about running back, receiver, tight end. Yeah. Best weapons in the league.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes sense to say Brock Purdy.
Right.
But
yeah.
I don't how many times do we can prove it to me? You know what I mean? How many? Prove it. Now show me, right?
Right, exactly.
Got it. Right. Show me, though.
Okay.
Whatever.
You took, So you took Goff. So what about Goff? And then you're looking at Tua.
God, this is like those eye tests where they flip it this A,
this
B,
one or this one.
1, 2, whatever.
I'm telling you, 11 through 20. Outside of they have 2 rookies that are going a little bit higher. Outside of those 2, of the other 8, I'm just give me one of those guys because it's So Goff or Tua. I would go Tua, just the weapons and that offense. Like both offenses are going to be good. I think both offenses could be a top 5 offense scoring wise.
But I'm going to rank those. I would rank them Goff, Purdy, Tua for me.
Okay.
And part of it's because I think Tua is one like weird hit.
Yeah.
And he's done. So I'm fine with Tua as my backup quarterback. I don't want to rely on Tua every week.
Okay. And then they have so the only rookies that are in the top 20, they've got Jaden Daniels. He's going at the 11:01, and like Caleb Williams going to the 10:09. So they're kind of back to back. Are you even looking at any, like, I think those are the only 2 if you're going to draft a rookie quarterback, I think those are the only 2 that I would even think about, but I would not want them as my QB1.
No. And I guess out of the 2, Caleb's got better weapons. Which is, you being a Bears fan, this is odd for you that someone says actually the Bears have better weapons than a different team.
Right.
But I think I'd take Caleb's upside for this season and see what you can do. You're right. You don't want to be your number 1. They got to be your number. They got to be, if you're drafting in dynasty. Okay, you and I are talking about like right now seasonal leagues. Caleb would take over Jaden Daniels. In a dynasty, would you still take Caleb over Jaden Daniels?
Probably not. I just like Daniels' rushing ability. Right. I don't think either of them are that great. So I'm like, I give me the little bit of rushing ability.
Okay.
And then I actually go ahead.
I was saying, okay, let's talk about the rookies though. Like, okay, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Penix, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Out of those guys, which rank them for me for you in a dynasty situation.
So in a dynasty, I think it'd be weird, and I wasn't behind this guy. I think I'd go Drake May 1 because I think, not for this. Like for this year, he's not going to be great, but I think he's just the best quarterback. He can run a little bit. Then I would probably put Daniels at 2, Williams at 3, and then I like
Penix, McCarthy, Nix.
The only problem with Penix is like he's going to be like 33 by the time he gets on the field.
Right.
I mean, I like Penix, but it's like unless Cousins gets hurt, I mean, he'll get here and there. Maybe like they're going to be bad, and then they just let him run the last 5-6 games, and he looks really good. And then I don't know what they'll do with Cousins, but
if he steps a hole in the parking lot, then all of a sudden, Cousins is gone and Penix is the guy.
Right. So I don't even like that core. I don't like very well. I like the 16 through 20. So 16 through 20, you're looking at, and this is just the order that they're getting drafted in. Herbert at the 10-11. Then you've got Lawrence at the 11-03, Stafford at the 11-11, and then you've got back-to-back Cousins and Rodgers at the 12-07, 12-08. I like Herbert, Lawrence, I don't mind Cousins or Stafford. Rodgers, I just, with his age coming off the Achilles, but I like Herbert and Lawrence. I know Herbert lost some weapons, but I think they may have to throw a lot, and I think Lawrence is good enough. I kind of like them more than Purdy, Tua, and Goff, just because I think those teams are going to have to throw the ball more.
Look at the shine that's fallen off with Herbert, like where he's at now.
I know,
because he's top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback recently, and now all of a sudden we're talking about him down there.
Yeah.
And Lawrence too. Lawrence, I know Lawrence lost Calvin Ridley, but I like the Brian Thomas Jr. Draft for him. I like that part of it.
Yep.
I got to believe Herbert's going to be better than some of those guys we talked about. I got to believe Herbert's got to be better. Even with the crappy receivers.
Yeah, and they've got Harbaugh coaching them. So Harbaugh knows how to run a quarterback. And sometimes you just got to go with talent, I think, too, where, there's no, those guys are going to be the guys. There's no like weird kind of thing where if like Daniels or Williams struggle, they could go off them. Same with Murray. And some of these guys are going top 10, like Stroud still, he had a good rookie season, but second year. Richardson, we don't know anything about really. Murray hasn't really been a top 5 type quarterback his whole career. And then Jordan Love still like, we're going to go off 8-9 games.
Right.
Like there's a lot of risk on all those. So I'm one of those guys. I like Burrow where he's at. And then I would just take a chance on a Herbert, Lawrence, Tua, Goff, and
I think with all these drafts we're going to do this year for Fantasy Draft Proxies, I see myself waiting a lot on quarterbacks. Now, last year it burned me a couple times because I waited too long, but I don't think you can wait too long this time. Like you said, if you can pick up a couple lottery tickets, say if it's Burrow and Herbert, Burrow and Lawrence, whatever, one of them is going to be okay.
Yeah.
They both might be great, but there's no way both of them suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? One of them's going to be okay. And you can pound your team so much early on, receivers and running backs and a tight end, that you can afford to have mediocre quarterback play, but those guys can blow up too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's just it. That's what you're looking at that. You're wanting somebody that's gonna be consistently playing, but has that huge upside.
Right.
And also all those guys can get you, big time games. That's the one thing with the Allens, the Mahomes, Hurts, and Lamars, and I can even throw Richardson in there just with his legs. Like those guys could like 3 weeks win you just them alone. Because there were times like Allen and Mahomes dropping like 45, 48 points, which is huge. But again, it's all about I haven't looked too far into all the other things, like who's around them too. Like, I still have a hard time taking a quarterback in the first 3 rounds for sure, but 4 in the 5th round, I could maybe start looking, but again, it just all depends on what my team already has and who's still around there and where and you got to look at where that drop off is. Cause with the running backs, the drop off happens. I just kind of I think it was around like 10, 11. There's kind of a decent drop off. I think receivers, I think receivers, you can always get decent receivers late. There's some sleepers we'll probably talk about later this year that I like the Josh Palmers of the world. Like there's some receivers like Curtis Samuel that are like, 30, 40, those types of things. So
something I used to look at a lot that I stopped looking at as much was quarterbacks' schedules down the stretch, last 5 games. I used to look at it a lot. I don't pay attention to that anymore. I just think if you're a good quarterback, I don't care about the weather. You know what I mean? The weather's going to be freaky things throughout the year anyway.
Right.
But I used to look at it and say, oh, wow, if this guy's playing an outdoor game in Foxborough, in December, sometimes it might break a tie for me, but I have stopped over analyzing that as much as I used to.
Yeah, I used to do early on, look at those strength of schedules, especially down the stretch for playoffs and those types of things. But sometimes you get in the weed and you start talking yourself out of it. And I remember I used to always say, people when I used to work at Walmart would be, hey, here, it would be like down the stretch, hey, I've got Aaron Rodgers, but he's in a bad matchup against the Bears, and I got this other guy that was like more of a a fringe start. I'm like, you always start your stud, no matter what.
Yes.
So, just start your studs, because my thing was always going to be, which would you be more upset about, that you benched Rodgers and he went off, or that you started Rodgers and then this someone like Stafford went off, or somebody like that, or Derek Carr or something. So.
All right, let's look at some running backs now.
Okay.
And I've always said, look, I still can't. It's Achane. What is it? Do we know?
He says Achane, but I like Achane better.
I like Achane better too. And we'll know if he's really good this year by how many times his name gets mispronounced. Because I said last year, he's like the Jeremy Lin, I think, of the NFL. Could be one of those guys who came in and was a flash and did great, but then also goes back. We don't look Miami's running back situation. I don't know what the hell to think this year. I'm not sure who to rely on. But they've got a lot of talent there. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Miami's running backs?
Mostert, I think, is just too old, and he had 20 touchdowns last year. That was just one of those weird type of deals. I like Achane. It's just he's not going to get the workload. And they drafted that rookie out of Texas, Jalen Wright. So I mean, he's going to get some breathers, but dude, he is he could just go off. And the thing is, it's going to be interesting to see if they use him, because he only had, if I'm looking right, he only had 27 receptions all of last year.
Right.
So he was not used in the passing game, which is weird. Why would you not use him in the passing game more? I know he was injured a little bit. Mm-hmm. So if you figure if he can get 50 receptions, that's huge. But I'm a fan of him. I think he might go higher than you may want to take him. Right. I think he might be going at the 2-3 turn or in the third round is kind of like just a little bit if I remember right. But I like him. I don't mind taking a flyer on Jalen Wright. I just don't think Mostert. I just don't think he's going to be it.
I get the sense that they're going to almost have like I don't want to say load management kind of thing, but I think they're going to try. I think you're going to see all three guys get carries.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't think they're going to lean on one guy a whole lot.
No.
But yeah, Achane, look, the fact he was a difference maker in fantasy football last year for a lot of teams. If you were able to grab him on the waiver wire because you didn't draft him, if you grabbed him, he won games for you. And so if he was on your team last year, you are much more likely to overdraft him this year. You know what I mean? Because you'll look up, this guy was great for me last year. You'll do that. So I think that he'll get overdrafted this year. He'll go before I would want to take him.
Yeah.
But I'm probably steering clear of all Miami running backs unless it's great value. I'm not going to seek them out.
No, unless there's injuries in the preseason.
Yes.
I'm with you. Like, I just can't take a chain that early. It's too early, man. There's still great wide receivers. There's still guys like, good running backs still too, and that range that are that's more work back. So I like him because I had him in one of my leagues last year, and it was just huge those first 3 games he had. And he's electric. It's just I don't think he's going to have the workload that all year that you can count consistently on it. And then again, like he's a guy like last year was great because you just pick him up in the waiver wire. Those are the kind of guys where if you can take a chance late on a guy that is kind of like volatile and you've got a pretty consistent team, then go ahead and do that. Or if it's a best ball, like he's great in best ball. But I just his draft stocks is too much for me.
And by the way, Chad's not quite in midseason form yet because anytime you say anything is electric, you've got to say boogie woogie 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 or something like that. But that's okay, Chad. We're going to let that one slide. But you got to make sure you get amped up on that. Okay, let's go now to another team's running back situation, the Los Angeles Rams. Okay. And you've got Kyren Williams, who again, league difference maker last year, did great.
Yes.
But he also had some injury issues. He has a foot issue right now, and they drafted Blake Corum, I think, in the 3rd round. So, based on their ADP, where's better value for you?
Probably Corum. Because Williams right now is the RB8. He's going 26th overall.
Okay.
So 3rd round, you're going to have to probably take Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
Maybe on a 12 team back end of the 2nd. Corum is running back 30. He's going at overall 105.
Right.
And I think, McVay kind of likes running with one guy. But Williams has not been able to stay healthy at all. And Corum's a beast, man. Like being up here in Columbus area, like we see the Michigan guys all the time. So I think I would wait again. Like it's just where you got to draft Kyren Williams. I think there's just other guys. Like I would rather have like ETN instead of Kyren Williams, and they're kind of in that same range. I'd rather, even if I was a little early, I know Gibbs is going a little bit earlier than him. He's going like late 1st, but I just, and the Rams, I don't know how good the Rams are going to be. They may throw a lot too. If you got, a healthy Cooper Kupp, you got Nakua, but I would rather take Corum than Williams just for their ADP.
I think I would too. I'm with you. Like I'm not gonna spend the capital needed. And by the way I keep saying I'm gonna pass on these guys, it sounds like I'm not gonna pick anybody to like the 7th round. But Corum though I think is the better value. I think that's why I don't want to worry about Williams the same way I don't worry about Achane. I don't want to. It's the same kind of thing for me where I want to. If I'm gonna pick in those first 3 or 4 rounds, I want as close to a sure thing as I can get. And Kyron's not a sure thing.
No.
And so that's my concern on that one.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Rams, and go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if you're talking like those first 2 rounds, you want those guys like Barkley, Bijan, CMC, even ETN. There's a group of about 8-9 guys that I would be like, okay, those are the guys I would want in those first 2 rounds. If not, I'm kind of gonna go wide receiver just because I don't want to gonna take a chance on those type of guys that either are not going to get the workload, or they just haven't really shown it enough.
Rams receivers. If Cooper Kupp, they say he's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. He's healthy right now. Will he be healthy in week 4, in week 8? But he'll put up great numbers if he's out there.
Yeah.
But is that another guy? That might be another guy that you have to overdraft to get him. And you're talking about an injury prone. Can we call him injury prone now?
Yeah.
Can we say injury prone with Cooper Kupp? Okay.
Sure.
Injury prone Cooper Kupp with 54-year-old Matthew Stafford throwing to him. And so you also got Puka Nacua out there. You've also got other weapons out there. Are you, excuse me, are you a Kupp guy this year?
Yeah, I'm not a 2 girls and a Kupp guy, but I am a Kupp guy. Just because he's injury prone. So if you're going the ADP route, Nakua is the wide receiver 6, Kupp's the wide receiver 35. So Nacua, you're getting at that 1-2 turn or early second round. You can get Kupp in the 5th or 6th. So again, I'm doing that. I do like Nacua. I mean, he was so good last year. So it just, like I said, it depends on what you did in the first round and who's still there too. I mean, if it's something where, because again, if you got guys like St. Brown off, if they go crazy and there's 8 wide receivers that go in the first round, I'm gonna go 2 running backs there, because there's gonna be Gibbs Barkley or something, and then I'll just wait and get a guy like Metcalf.
People chase the running backs. You have receivers to choose from after that,
and that's why I think when you're drafting those the first 4 rounds, you really got to see who's coming off the board, especially if you're at the turn, because you have such a long wait to you want to get on the head of the run. So if there's a bunch of running backs that go, then you want to you can get 2 top end receivers. But I mean, if that's something, if it kind of just falls, Nacua in the 2nd, it's not bad. I don't know if I want to take him at the turn. It'd probably have to be at 14, 15, 16. Mid-second.
As I'm looking at my eyes, my eyelids are so heavy and fat, I look like a Muppet, I think. I look like one of the Muppets that maybe didn't get on the show with the eyelids the way they are. Anyway, I think that's what I feel like here, Chad. I feel like a Muppet. Anyway, okay, let's close out with this. Let's talk about again, we got a lot of content to get to throughout the year. We're going to do this more often. But want to wrap this up talking about Josh Jacobs. And I know that he had a great year a couple of seasons ago, but he also had 400 touches back in 2022. Right. Last year, he only played in 13 games. That is one thing I'm still steadfast on, is guys who get a ton of touches the next year, they can struggle. If they go to the Super Bowl, make a deep run of the playoffs, count all that as well, the catches and the carries, and you'll see it. And Josh Jacobs last week only played 13 games after the 400 touch season. So now he's got a year behind him. He rushed for 1,653 yards back in 2022. He's in Green Bay now. The deal is 4 years, it's $48 million or something, but it's like team option every year. They can cut him after 1 year, whatever. It's not guaranteed money on that. Are you a Josh Jacobs guy this year?
I think so, because part of it, he had that 400 carry season. But if you remember, when he was in college, he did not have a ton of carries in college, because I think he was behind all those Alabama guys. I think Henry was there probably early on, and then he was. I can't remember when they went on that run. He was in the backfield with somebody, and it was he just didn't get a ton of carries, so he didn't have a ton of work in college, which that's going to bode well if you're a guy like Jonathan Taylor or Zeke. And you had, you were getting 300 so carries in college, and that would be more concerned. I like it just because I don't think Dillon's a guy, AJ Dillon, that they never really made him a workload guy, even when
he had chances last year too, just didn't do anything. He opportunities last year.
Yeah, and Jacobs is shown he's a RB1 and can be a workhorse. So I do like him. I'm not too concerned, because he is a year away from that. I know he got injured last year, but I look back, he did not have a ton of carries in college. So I think he's still 20. Is he 27?
He's 26 years old. He's only 26. He's not that old.
Yeah, so he's not that old either. So I have no problem drafting him, and I cannot remember where he's fallen. I imagine he's second round somewhere, mid to late second. I'm guessing for Jacobs on an ADP.
In 2022, he had 340 carries
Yeah.
and caught 53 passes also. So 393 is where he was at. And then last year he had 296. No, 200. I take that back. Last year he had 270 total touches. So bit of a drop off there, but yeah, he'll be the bell cow there in Green Bay. I'm with you. I think you can get good. Gosh, excuse me. I think you get good value on Josh Jacobs though. I think you can.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, especially if you go wide receiver. Like if you get like Tyreek, St. Brown, Chase, Jefferson, and get Jacobs as your RB1 in the second round. That's a good start to a draft.
All right, we'll do a lot more of this as the season goes on. This was just episode 1 for the 2024 season. Follow him on the X at Chad Ochorenko. Follow me on the X at That Happens. Send us questions if you want. We'll address them in our upcoming podcast. But I'm going to go ahead and try to find our logo now here so I can put it on there.
Right.
But this has been Fantasy Football Now on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Thanks so much, Chad. Have a great night, brother.
You too, buddy.